Hey, everybody, it's Casey here, your host of the Chick Chat Collective, and I am very excited for the chat today. We have Miss Meredith Brough. She is a mother of 5, you guys. I only have 3, and I feel like I am drowning every day, so I have no idea how she does it. She had 5 in 8 years, you said, right? Craziness. She is a sleep coach with a huge heart. She helps mothers feel revitalized, connected, and at peace by restoring their sleep and helping them trust their intuition and understand their children better. And right before we hit record, I was just telling her how that is just so needed, right? I'm in that phase right now where the baby is 10 months old, sleeping in the bed, sleeping on my arm, nursing half of the night still to soothe himself. Tyson, the 2.5-year-old, doesn't sleep in his own crib. Like, the only one we've got in the bed right now is Isla, and I am just physically and mentally and emotionally exhausted all the time. But it's because I can't do the cry it out. I can't do it. So without further ado, Meredith, please introduce yourself further and let's dive into this amazing thing that you do that you're offering to women and moms everywhere. And just thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. So I am living in Iowa. It's not small town area at all, but we're out in the middle of nowhere, I guess you could say. But I grew up in Northern California. I had the 5 kids and they're not little. And so that's just good for you to know because I'm not in it anymore. Things are a lot easier once your kids start fending for themselves a little bit. You agree?
Yes.
Makes such a big difference. So they're 15 to 23. And I'm in that stage where I've got a grandbaby and the kids are moving out and going off to college and dating in serious relationships. It's just insane. It's really fun. So yeah, very different. And actually just celebrated my 27th anniversary with my husband this week, which is really cool.
Oh, congratulations.
Got some years on us for sure.
Hey, it's
But
all experience, right? And it's all wisdom that you're
it
collecting. So,
is. And it's meaningful. Like now when we celebrate an anniversary, we're looking back at this lifetime of experience and love and growth and what we've overcome. It's actually really beautiful. So
yeah.
I like that. So yeah, the sleep coaching side of me, that's actually probably number 3 when it comes to priorities: God, family, and then this work, because it's just so near and dear to my heart. And it's not just changing lives through sleep. It's the opportunity I have to connect with moms, see where they're struggling, take my years of experience, my perspective, and really do what I can to lift, inspire, help them trust themselves, help them grow in confidence, which I say grow, but I mean, when you're a new mom, your confidence is like minuscule, so saying grow your confidence, it could be extremely different by the time you're done working with me, because it's just a really tough world to raise babies in.
It
And
is.
besides all the normal changes we go through, you're also, pressured by social media, surrounded by too much information, especially when it comes to sleep and what to do and what not to do. And it's awful. And then just we're so hard on ourselves. And for some reason, there's this mentality that we're supposed to be good at this right away. And I don't know why that is, but we do that.
Yeah, or like you're just supposed to naturally know.
Yeah, which
Just
is not
have that
true.
mothering instinct, which, like, of course you do, right? Like, I tell Tyler this all the time when it comes to the boys not sleeping in their room. So Tyson is the 2.5-year-old, and he will scream bloody murder, and he's begging for mommy and daddy. And like, I just can't let him do that till he falls asleep. There's something inside of my body. There's like a chemical reaction that
Yeah.
happens. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't also, people are like, well, get in the shower and turn the shower on or put earplugs in. And it's like, well, I still know that it's happening though, right? It's not just the hearing it. It's like the knowing that my baby is crying for me and that I am choosing to
Yeah.
not go to him.
That's unnatural.
And that's what I told him. I was like, it seems unnatural to me. It does not seem just like the normal thing. And like with Isla, we just got really lucky with her. She was a sleeper from the jump. She,
Mhm.
when I transitioned her to her crib from her bassinet next to the bed, she never really slept in the bed either. She did a little tiny bit. She didn't nurse, right? The two boys nursed. She kind of had issues with that. But she just went into her crib and happy as can be and sleeps for 12 hours, 7 to 7, right? We got so lucky. And so I
Especially
never
the
had,
first.
yeah, right. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is we'll have a million babies, right? Like we just get all the sleep that we need. We still have a life. We still get to watch our shows together. And like,
It's
no,
awesome.
now we don't even sleep in the same room. He takes Tyson downstairs and we like never get any time together. But
Oh yeah. That's why I
right.
have a job.
Yeah. So I love that you say, helping them trust their intuition and just like your natural instincts, because you're not always going to feel like exactly what to do or what's the right
Yeah.
thing, but I do feel like you're going to know what your child needs.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? That is a process because we do have intuition and we do have instincts, but as new moms, we really don't know what that is. We don't trust it. We
Right.
don't know when we're feeling it. We do not recognize it, I don't think. And then the process is, okay, I do know what's best for my child and I'm going to trust my gut, right? The process is going through experiences, learning from them, or it's just recognizing that your instincts are kicking in. There's been studies that show that moms, they get physically this instinct to jump up. The arms are already like tensed up the second, or like less than a second after hearing a baby cry. And
Mhm.
actually, I think they said it was that our bodies are reacting before we actually process that we heard it. What does that tell you? It tells you this is natural. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
There's an instinct there to protect them and to be there for them. And the saddest thing about it is after 30, 50 years of being conditioned by sleep training rules and practices, people are questioning these things that actually are best for babies. So if
Yeah.
you
Well,
are very responsive and running to your baby and meeting their needs and all the things, even co-sleeping, carrying them around, all that stuff that everyone says you're spoiling your baby or you're starting bad habits, your baby will actually thrive and develop properly in every way, mentally, physically, all the things. And
mhm.
even the brain development is relying on you being a very responsive parent. Is that amazing?
It's so amazing. And if you really think about it like that, it makes so much sense, right? Like I don't want them crying themselves to sleep because they were screaming for us and we didn't show up for them.
It's
I
so sad. It's so backwards.
like it's just like, what are we actually training them to think, right? Like self-soothe. And it's like, but they're
They're
2
incapable.
or 10 months old. Like they don't know what that means. They just know that like mommy or daddy are not coming to get them when they're sad or scared or whatever it may be, right? It seems so crazy to me, but you're right. We are so taught to not trust our instincts and
Follow rules.
yeah, follow the rules or follow these studies or follow these things. Like, of course, they fall asleep after they freaking scream for 30 minutes. They're
Of course.
exhausted. Who
I
wouldn't?
know.
You
Well, what's
know?
interesting though is seeing from my perspective where people come to me all the time and say, I tried that and my kid slept worse. I tried that and my kid cried for like several hours or screamed. And
Yeah.
we did it repeatedly for weeks and it never changed.
Yeah.
And for me, that's obviously awful to hear because it
Yeah.
breaks my heart.
Of
But
course.
that just tells you that this practice, as foolproof as everybody claims it is, it's not. And it's a terrible thing, really. I actually have a series on that. It's called What's Wrong with Old Fashioned Sleep Training. And
Hmm.
it's not to make people scared and it's not to make people feel ashamed. So it's just a little side note because I'm sure some of your listeners have done it.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that there's no judgment. We're not trying to be unkind to you. We don't think you're a bad person. You've been influenced by this norm in our society. And also there are children out there like your first who are so easygoing and
Hmm.
chill that they will seriously cry for like 2 or 3 minutes at a nice low volume
Yeah.
and
And go
turn
to
over,
sleep.
go to sleep, and then sleep great for the rest of their life. That
Yeah.
happens, and that's why it's still being done. The problem is that there are temperaments, and each child is very individual and different. They are geared to rely on us. They are geared to not know how to comfort themselves. And people don't know that. They're capable of that starting around 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And so that's when they start like being able to turn inward. So the term self-soothe is totally inappropriate. I always differentiate and say self-settle, because what we want is to have them, we want to empower them to connect sleep cycles. And when you look at it like that, the old-fashioned sleep training doesn't really make sense, because like, why would this empower a baby at all? People think they know, but I don't agree with them. So I'm bringing that up because I am extremely different. I call myself a bridge between attachment baby-led style and old-fashioned sleep training. I'm a bridge between them because I still believe in independent sleep to be an okay thing if that's what the parent wants, and also because of SIDS rules that people really obsess over. But I want to do it in a really loving way that supports the baby's future and the relationship between mom and dad. And I figured out how to do that. And so I'm really excited about what I have to offer. Side note, and I do it tear-free. That's really rare.
Yeah. So okay, so, with all of my things being said about I can't let the baby cry and there is also the side of like, I'm not getting enough sleep because the kids are in the bed with me. Tyler and I get no alone time because of this. So I also don't think that is the best thing either, right? Like, I don't think the co-sleeping and me being exhausted all the time is the best for our family either. And so what is the middle ground there? Because here's, like, for example, last night was one of the very rare nights, right? I put Isla to bed. She's asleep in her bed. Tyson was so tired, he actually let Tyler put him in his crib.
Yay.
Normally he doesn't, right? He screams and he just comes straight to our bed, or they go straight downstairs together to the guest room. But he was in there for about an hour sleeping by himself until he woke up. Jesse, I nursed him and I was able to put him in his crib.
Yay.
For about an hour, right? They both woke up around the same time, but we had like an hour to ourselves. And
Yay.
it was great. But they both wake up and they both wake up crying. And we're so tired. So it's like, get them and put them in here so we can all fall asleep.
Exactly. Yeah. So first of all, I have a system. So it's something that I follow for everyone because there's groundwork to be done in the beginning. And some of that a lot of parents have done and some haven't, like the holistic side. Do you know your child's best sleep cues? Are you following how many naps they need in the day? And a lot of people will be keeping their kid awake for 4 hours or something like that when they're 5 months old. And so I don't follow sleep charts, like wake window charts. I have the parent do some observing, and they learn some things from me, and we track it and we figure out what the child needs. I think that's important because we don't want to try and fit them into a box that way either. That doesn't work for a lot of babies. It's stressful for people. So anyways, that's actually makes a really big difference in how well a child will nap and sleep at night, fall asleep, that sort of thing. So it's really important. I always look at the child's needs. Like your older son right now is screaming and freaking out when you leave the room. Well, there's separation anxiety going on, and there's probably development going on. So we really need to talk about that and understand it. And then you can meet his needs and be more patient. So that's huge. I just see separation anxiety increase when kids are going through development, especially leaps. They're not feeling well, but there's also this part of their brain that is afraid you will not come back when you leave. They forget what they've learned, or they haven't learned it yet, that you are permanent, that you're not disappearing for, forever. So it's a scary thing. And a lot of toddlers and children need work there. So I, again, use that term bridging. I help parents reassure their children they're coming back, and that as a baby is your presence. It's the returning. As a toddler or child, it's let's talk about tomorrow, the things we have to look forward to. We're going to be doing all these things when you wake up in the morning. We're going to snuggle, just really get their mind off the scary stuff and onto the stuff that's beautiful and peaceful so they can fall asleep. So that's a big piece of what I focus on too, is, well, it makes perfect sense that a child needs to feel absolutely secure and at peace and trusting. and love their room. So I actually tell my clients, you're going to protect the bedroom as a happy place 100%.
Yeah.
There are times when moms need to walk away because they're, feeling crazy or awful. And if a child's in their crib for 10 minutes and they're crying while you're collecting yourself, never a problem. Don't worry about that. That's the 99% factor there.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, just, think of it as your duty. This is what I do, and it's going to pay off. And it does. So we have children sleeping deeper because they're letting go and more comfortable. And, that takes spending time in the room and making that really familiar and comfortable. I actually have like activities that my clients do to deepen that and to work on that for a week or two. And then we'll do a sleep method. And that's only if we want to get them into their own bed. But my sleep methods, I actually have 8, are tear-free, and they're baby step. It's what we need. Like if you're going to run a marathon, you don't just run 10 miles tomorrow. We baby step our plan. We make it doable. We avoid stress for ourselves and our child by doing the same thing with a sleep method. And I have so many because they're based on the child's temperament and how they fall asleep and how challenging they are. And does dad get involved? Does grandma get involved? Are you doing it all? And there's a lot of factors to know.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny because like Tyson loves a couch nap. He had like given up naps. And then he started wanting them again, but he just wants to sleep on the couch. And that kid can sleep on the couch for like 3 hours.
How funny.
And Tyler is like, I used to love a couch nap too. Like he loved being in the mix. It was like he didn't want to be in his room away and alone. He's way better kind of hearing the noises of the house and knowing that people were around.
That's cool that you adjusted like that, because that's not normal to just focus so much on what works for your kid. I'm proud of you.
Well, I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, but is that okay? Like, should he be napping on the couch, or am I screwing him up for nighttime? Because now he naps on the couch. And so like at bedtime, it's like, well, I don't want to sleep in my bed.
So there's work, there's work you could do there on both places.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you screwed him up. There's just some work left that you could do. And I just think it's so cool that you did that, because my specialty is very active kids and highly sensitive and high needs. They're the ones who really need the different approach more than any. But what I do works for everyone, so why not? They're the ones I know a lot about them. I know their ins and outs. I know it works. I can predict things with them. And it sounds like your son probably has a lot of energy. Does he have fear of missing out? Yeah,
he does. Yeah. And he's
really, really smart.
He's so smart. Yeah. He's 2.5, and the way he speaks and has been speaking for like the last 6 months, everyone is like, he speaks just almost as well as the 4-year-old. Full-blown sentences, super descriptive words.
So cool.
Everyone is, it's not just us. Everyone is like, wow, like he is really, really good with his speaking,
It's so fun to watch, isn't it? Especially at that age. You're like, what?
Yeah. And everything sounds so sweet that comes out of his mouth, yes.
Well, some of those qualities, I listed just a few. It's really hard to get a child with FOMO, especially if they're very, very active and have a lot of FOMO. Those kids often at like a week old are already crying on the way to the bedroom, resisting and fighting sleep big time. He might not have been like that, but I have different spectrums on this scale, but they're really tough, and it's really tough to get them to learn how to fall asleep on their own. And I want to talk about that for a second, because I'm not hyper focused on that. It's just that in my 21 years of experience doing this, I know that it works. I know that having them fall asleep on their own for naps and bedtime, doesn't have to be all the time, then they're going to be empowered. They're going to be able to connect sleep cycles. And so, there aren't studies that really prove that yet. There's lots of time left in the future for that sort of thing. But come on, 21 years of experience. I used to help babies in my daycare. I helped babies in my daycare. They'd be in my house for 4 days and sleep for 8 hours, no matter how old. 2 months, 8 months, older than 1. So this thing works. It's just, I'm not forcing it. I'm thinking of it as fostering independence, which is always beautiful and good for a child. It means they feel secure and they're not freaking out when you're gone, except for when separation anxiety is high. That still happens. I guess it's just one of the principles that works for me. And I also teach moms to respond at night where they're really trusting themselves and being in tune with their child and what they need. So doing things naturally, but I just teach them an order of things that encourages independence, but we always meet their needs. This is kind of a nice little, I call it a response plan.
Yeah.
And then it also helps during regressions because you go through these steps and you can rush through them and just get to the, I'm going to hold you up, we're going to sit and rock, or I'm going to feed you, to help them feel better. And then, that's not really the time to focus on improving sleep. It's the time to just be there and need a lot of support in that area during those times.
And one question I have, just right, because I'm in it. I'm so in it. Like, even if he doesn't, like Tyson, the 2.5-year-old, doesn't like perfect his sleep, there is going to come a point where he does not want to sleep with us, right?
Yeah. Well, so some people in their cultures, they co-sleep forever. And so when people in the US say that, I kind of giggle to myself because I'm like, well, there are people who just always co-sleep. And like, I actually worked with a woman who slept with her mom until she went off to college, and she was terrified when she was alone. And
I can't be having that.
She hired me because she didn't want her daughter to feel terrified,
Yeah.
So naturally, most of the time, kids want to move into their own bed, or mom wants to move them into their own bed. So it usually happens. So don't be too afraid of it. And I'm glad you brought that up because there are children out there who crave connection, physical connection, and thrive from it. And so I believe in the Safe Sleep 7, the La Leche League teaches. Some experts out there that are advocates for co-sleeping remind us that it is, or bed sharing, I should say, it is a choice, and you have to be very real with yourself. There's risk anywhere a baby sleeps, period, because the SIDS rules aren't foolproof. Safe Sleep 7 isn't either. But when a baby does struggle and something bad happens in your bed, in your arms, how are you going to feel about that? Are you okay with that? So just at least be real, have the conversation with yourself and understand there's risk.
Yeah.
But when a mom follows her gut on this, it's so incredible to me because you're like courageous. You're doing something you feel is right when nobody supports you. And I met a woman once who decided to co-sleep when she saw her daughter. She knew she needed it. And she had always thought, I'm not going to ever do that. So it was really interesting. And they co-slept for about 1.5 years. And then I helped her at that point because she was touched out. Her baby was like pulling on her nipple with her teeth, and it was excruciating, and she was ready to wean and stuff like that. And so there comes a point where you might be done with it, or you're really not sleeping well because the child's restless or you're anxious or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's not a good fit for everyone. And I think those are the people who come to me. It's not the people who are loving it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, of course he's a snuggler, and when both the boys are in bed, like last night, they snuggle each other. It's like, it's adorable and it's amazing. And I know all of this is so fleeting, but then on the flip side, it's like, I am literally making doctor appointments because I feel so, just not myself,
depleted.
right? Because and nothing's wrong with me, right? I had a vitamin D deficiency. That was the only thing. And he was like, you just need more sleep. And I'm like, but I don't know how to make that happen in my current situation.
Yeah, I know. And actually, a lot of people don't realize that there's an alternative. And that's why I'm on podcasts, because we got to get the word out there that there is another option, and it's something that you will actually feel good about and you'll feel right in your heart. And that's so rare. I never ever want to tell a woman that she's wrong on anything, or that her ideas or beliefs or parenting are wrong or bad. I just can't even believe that happens to people, but it does.
Yeah.
So
I know. And
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one of the ways I'm making sure I spread the word also is that I have a sleep coach school.
Amazing.
I feel like everything that I've learned and discovered and teach that came from God, and it's not my stuff. So I actually don't feel like I have to keep this all to myself because this is so unique. It's more that I want to train little soldiers all over the world to be like able to empower parents and babies and improve sleep for everyone, because this is so needed.
Oh my gosh, it is. And that's so amazing. Like, that's so wonderful. And it really is, right? Whenever I do get some sleep, I mean, I honestly cannot tell you the last time I've had 8 hours consistently. I really can't. I think probably before I was pregnant with my second, because the pregnancy, right? You're up all hours peeing and blah, 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 blah. And then you just get uncomfortable. So that's been a long time. It's been years.
Yeah.
But when I do get some sort of like stretch of uninterrupted sleep and I wake up, I mean, even just that little bit, I feel so much better. It doesn't last me all day, like I'm not feeling energized and stuff all day, but just the way that I wake up in the morning, I'm not waking up exhausted. I'm waking up like, wow, I don't feel so tired right now. This is awesome. And so I think just even empowering women, right, just to get enough rest. And we're better mothers when we are rested, right? We're not so tired and impatient and quick to, anger or irritate or whatever it is. And, the thing I pray for the most before I fall asleep, it's not sleep. I should be praying for sleep, but I pray for patience for the next day, because already in my head, I know like I'm not going to get enough sleep, you know?
What? On one hand, we need to be fair to ourselves and just, you said that out loud. This makes sense that you're feeling that way and acting that way. And, your situation isn't really working for you to be the best mom ever. So we should be real with ourselves and be like, I'll probably be impatient tomorrow, but oh God, please help me to be a little more patient, or like a little better version of myself, please. Because you don't want to go to sleep with that regret. I cannot tell you how many times I like cried myself to sleep because it feels terrible. But I think what you're getting at is, we can do something for ourselves. We don't have to stay this way, right? There is something you can do, and it's exciting because sleeping is going to help you be that person you want to be and not cry yourself to sleep and feel great.
Yeah, it's empowering, like knowing that there is an option out there. And so I'm just really grateful for you coming on here and, discussing these things. And guys, for any of you listening, Meredith is going to be offering something amazing for the listeners. Don't worry if you are driving and can't jot this information down. All of this is going to be in the show notes for you. But would you let everybody know?
Yeah. So I have a few programs for parents, and they are like, 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months, because some people want to work with me longer, or maybe the child needs a long time, especially if they're older. So I meet with people and we determine what type of program is best for you, but always supportive of what you can do. So I'm offering 10% off of any of the programs, and they're on my website, and I'll go over that in a second. But your offer code will just be CHICK. And how do you spell that on your podcast?
CHICK.
Okay. So yeah, you'll just plug in CHICK and you'll get 10% off. And you know what? I will offer that even on my sleep coach training program. I don't know who's out there listening, but there absolutely could be someone who's like, what? I do want to start my own business, and I actually love this topic, and I love thinking about health, or I love the idea of helping moms feel great. Well, please, just what you'll do is you'll go on my website and you can look for the services. There's a tab, and there's a tab for the school. And those are the two places where you can learn and connect with me. There'll be a place for you to set up an appointment. I love starting that way. We need to meet. We need to see if we connect, if you're comfortable, if I feel like this is going to be good for you, if you and I connect, like I said. So those meetings are important, and they're brief. There's no obligation, but you can set that up either on any of those pages or on the contact page. And I just love to meet you. And honestly, when I get on a call, my goal is to make sure that I give you some insight that really helps you feel relieved or excited and also give you a lot of credit for what you're doing well and what you're doing right. So these calls are actually pretty therapeutic as well.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
sound
so
like
Sweet
it.
Slumber Time. You'll find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and that's my website. Just remember, Sweet Slumber Time.
Awesome. Sweet slumber time.
Yes.
I think I was laughing over the first time that you said that. So, well, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful and so needed. And moms out there who are going through this same thing, do not feel like you are alone at all. Like I am literally in it with you. And it is hard. It's one of the hardest things, right? It is. It's so hard to not get enough rest and then to have to wake up and be all the things to everybody. And it's just, there's no break from it, right? This is what we do every single day. And so thank you, Meredith, for what you do, because this is just it's so important, right? It's like we don't talk about really how this insane lack of sleep really trickles into every single thing that we do throughout the day.
It does.
And I mean, it's the most important thing. It really is. And it's like more important than the food that we're eating is like the
Yeah.
amount of rest that we're getting. So I'm just really, really grateful to you for what you're doing and helping women and moms and, people who kind of feel like they're stuck or they're at their wits' end and they don't know what to do, So the next step, everyone reach out, connect,
Yeah.
set
Listen
up a
to my
call.
podcast, because that I forgot about that. Like,
Yes.
actually, that's really great because you have some resources right there at your fingertips, and not everybody needs to work with me or can. So look up the Sweet Slumber Podcast. There's a lot of insight and ideas for you to start improving sleep right away.
That's amazing. Yay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.